Atomstack A5 Pro laser. Got one right here. Going to go into some details on how to put it together. Coming up. I'm Roger, welcome to the shop. What I'm going to be doing today is putting together the Atomstack A5 Pro laser, and I'm going to go into details on it and show every step. So if you're highly experienced at putting this type of thing together and doing this type of project, this is probably going to be somewhat boring. If you're new to this or you're not real sure about how some of the things go together, this will be the video for you, because I'm going to go into great detail, including taking everything out of the box, showing what you get, going through the assembly step by step. Some people are a little bit mechanically challenged, and others just can do this stuff in their sleep. This is going to be aimed for those that are either not sure or a little bit challenged. So with that said, let's get this thing unboxed, see what's in here. Okay, so the first thing we got to do here is get this thing out of the box. I did cut the tape already. So I had to peek inside to see what was in here earlier. So one thing they do give you is a it says giveaway cutting mat. When cutting, please put this mat under the object to prevent damage to the tabletop. Keep that in mind if you're doing this on some of your fine furniture. Set that off to the side. Have a nice piece of foam here. Instruction manual. And we'll get into the parts and pieces here. So we get a USB cable. USB printer type cable, little brush, this is the controller, power supply, cord for the power supply, that's important. The laser head itself. A bag of some sample blanks to cut on and engrave on, and some tools, and it's like a little cleaner for your head, and some hardware. So we're definitely going to have that. Oh, a snack pack. Oh, do not eat. Shoot. Okay. The little goggle glasses things they always give you with these things, and they're not worth much, but they do protect your eyes. It's better than nothing. I have something much better. We'll get into that later. Okay, we got a slot here. We got the feet. 3 of those. This would be the X and Z carriage. And we have the aluminum profiles, which are very neatly packed here with strips of foam in between. Okay, I found 2 of them. Must be some underneath. And there is, I can feel it. Ah, there they are. Gotta do a little hunting to find this stuff. Okay, I'll get rid of some junk here and we'll get to doing some assembly. Okay, assembly here is actually pretty straightforward. I got my parts laid out here. And the little bags are labeled with step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 5. Step 4 is something else we're doing here. It does come with some tools. With a wrench here for adjusting the eccentrics on the wheels, which we'll get to. And it comes with a set of alien wrenches, or what I call Allen wrenches. I call them alien wrenches. Most people call them Allen wrenches. But what I like to use are these with handles. It's just a lot easier, and you can pick these up at your local hardware store, home center, or on Amazon or wherever, and they have a ball end on the end, and they're easy to use. So we'll get on to the assembly here. It's very straightforward, it's very simple. The first thing you'll want to do is lay your parts out, and as you can see here, if the one has a logo, it's Atomstack. This is the side away from me, so I'm assembling this, and there are screw holes here. Get in there where you can see that. It's on the top side of the logo. That goes away from you. The base part, you have the same thing. You have holes on one side. Those go to the outside, be facing you. On your sidebars, on the right hand side, you'll see that there's a recess on one side and not on the other. The recess side goes out because that's where the socket head captures go in. On the opposite side, it's just the same. You'll have your indexing numbers here in centimeters and millimeters, and there again you'll have these recesses. They go to the outside. Step one is you have these 5mm by 25mm bolts, if you can get them out of the package. These go in these holes, and you'll look and there's holes tapped into the end of the extrusions. Just screw them in there. Do that on all four corners. You don't want to tighten them up yet, you just want to kind of get them started. Yeah, I'm just going to run these in until they are just up against the base. They're not tight, they're not even snug. They just run in there all the way. You'll notice there's a board underneath this now instead of the cardboard. The cardboard is on top of my table saw, and I know that's completely flat, but there can be some little ripples in that cardboard. So what I've got here is a piece of plywood, which is actually going to be the eventual base for this laser. When you tighten up these screws, you want to make sure this is perfectly flat and not skewed a little bit, because that will throw things off. So you get it on a perfectly flat surface and tighten your bolts down diagonally on the corners. So I'll do this corner here first, and then I'll go back and do this corner. I'll come down here to this one. And then finally the far corner here. Having worked with 3D printers and some CNCs and other laser, I know it's important that this frame be perfectly flat and square. But because of the way the extrusions are made and the way these bolts go in, you're going to be square. I could put a square on here to make sure. This is a Starrett square. This isn't one of them dime store ones. We are perfect there. And there. So we are perfect all the way around, and that's what you want to make sure of. Okay, your next step here would be to push the X-axis, that's this piece here, onto the rail from the back. There's a flange here that the laser head goes on. Actually, this is the front. This plate right here is where the laser head mounts, and that will be facing you. This is a stepper motor. That would be towards back where the logo is. The logo where it says Atomstack Pro is the top of the back of the laser. Just raise up the frame here. Get these little wheels started on there. And slide it right on. Next step will be to put the feet on. These are the feet. There'll be two on this side. There'll be on the front here, and there'll be one on the back corner, and then the other one, control box, is the other foot. But we'll start back here since this is already facing me. So which way do they go? They go like this. There's a little pad on there to keep from scratching the surface. That goes down, of course. And then the two holes that are up here follow into the holes in the extrusion. And you want to tighten these up and make sure that they're square with the frame. I'm going to flip this around so that the back will now be facing me. So now with it this way, the control box will go over here. And it'll be real obvious because the way the screw holes are machined into the extrusion. Obviously, you want the switch facing up. That's all there is to step 2. Okay, step 3 are the timing belts, and I'm going to do a close-up here because I know a lot of people get confused on exactly how this goes together. You have your timing belt here. One side has teeth on it. That will face down. And what you need to do is take this under this first roller, and then using something to grab the end of it, you want to pop it up, and it'll go over the little roller up here at the top. And it'll go back down and it'll go underneath the other roller. Just like so. You'll need to do that on both sides. Okay, I've turned this back around where now I have the front towards me. Now to fasten these belts down, you'll get a T-nut with a bolt in it. Look something like this. Get the camera to focus on it. There we go. Just loosen up the little bolt that's in there. Place this on top of the belt. Make sure you have a little bit of your belt sticking out. Slide that T-nut into the extrusion from the end. The normal way you operate with these T-nuts, you put them in and as you turn them they spin, but because this is such a tight fit, it's not really an option here. You want that as close to the end as you can get it, then just tighten that down. Then the excess belt that's sticking out, you just cut off. Then you get these little plastic covers for the end. They just snap on and cover the extrusion up. Okay, next you'll be setting the belt tension, and here again you've got these little T-nuts and screws. Slip into the extrusion on the end. I have this turned around so that the back is facing me. And I have the X carriage, which is this up here. This is pulled all the way back towards me. There's a stop right here where it'll hit. So how do we set the belt tension? Well, one thing you don't want to do is end up with this all cattywampus. You want it to be square. So what I'm going to do here is set this side first. It's the side with the stepper motor on it. So how tight is tight? You want to pull on this so that the belt is snug around the carriage, but you don't want it so tight that it won't move. So you want to get a little bit of deflection there. It's kind of hard to explain that. It's more by feel. You don't want a whole lot of slop out there either. I would say, you know, just judging this by looks, you get your belt pulled tight, there should be about 1/8 of an inch of deflection there. And just tighten your screw down. Now for the other side, you get this pulled all the way back against the carriage back here where it hits a stop. Okay, we're going to have the same thing going on over here on the other side. As you can see right now, that belt is just like way loose. So I need to pull some of that slack out of there. It's still too loose. This is about how much deflection you want. Now, the next thing you want to make sure of is that everything is square. And what I'm doing as a visual here, and I'll check it with the machinist square later, there's a groove right here on this extrusion. I'm placing the center of this nut for each wheel into the center of that extrusion to make sure I'm not cattywampus here. I'll just tighten this up. Okay, then once you're happy with your belt tension, you just cut the excess belt off. I did sharpen my knife. And you can place these little extrusion or these little plastic caps in. There is a protrusion on one end of that goes down. You'll find that out right away when you go to put it in. And I found that once you get it started, you give it a little tap. And it locks it in there. Okay, step 4, we're going to put the laser head on. You take it out of the package, it looks like this. There's a knob on here. Loosen that knob up. This is really simple. This is keyed right here. See, there's a keyway on the laser head here. Of course, I have this turned around. I have the front facing me. This just slips down in there. And you tighten up yonder knob. Of course, we're not setting the height or anything yet. And there it is. That's just that simple. I'm going to back up here just a minute here on the laser head itself. Take this back off. There are sets of holes here according to your height of where you're going to be doing your work. There again, this will depend on how you get this all set up. There's 3 groups of holes here. Right now it's set at the highest level. I am going to lower mine to the middle position. They actually recommend that you do that. To do that, there are 2 screws on the back. Just turn it around. See, there's 2 screws here. This is where we can see everything. So we'll just take these screws loose. And drop it down to the next hole. Then you can set the laser head back in place. I'm not setting a height yet because I have to do a spoil board and I need to mount this and all that. That's subject of another video. This is just the assembly. And next we have a Y-axis limit little knob. There's one was already factory installed back here. Need to put the other one in the plastic bag. You'll find a little spacer and a screw. Screw just passes through the spacer. There's a hole right here in the extrusion where it goes. Pretty straightforward. Just like that. That is a stop for this. So boy, that's right on there too. This stops right when the laser hits the extrusion. It's right there. That's to keep from damaging your laser head. Same with it moving towards the back. Stops it. Okay, and the last step here as far as getting your carriage set up is there is a nut right here on the, this is upside down. This is on the bottom. There's a nut right back in here that you can adjust your tension with, of how tight you want that roller to be on there. You don't want it too tight. You want it so that the what I like to do, and that's the same thing I do with my 3D printers, is I set this tension on this to where I can just barely turn that wheel with my fingers. You don't want to, this keeps you from having slop in it. So they say you should be able to put this up at an angle and it should very easily roll down, which it does, just like that. I zoom this out so you can see it again. You can put this up at a 45-degree angle and your carriage should roll without a whole lot of effort there. But you don't want it just zipping down there either. It should roll at a nice, slow, steady pace. Okay, next we're going to hook up some wires. Get this unwound here a little bit. It'll be pretty obvious where they go. Something I want to show is these plugs are keyed. So there are little nubs here you can see. They go into the open channel on the stepper motor. You don't want to screw this up because if you bend those pins, you're going to have a dickens of a time ever trying to get them straightened up enough so you can actually plug something in. There's the Y carriage. I'm going to be putting a drag chain on this eventually, but because this is kind of hokey. But now when you get to the top of this, one of these is a 6-pin and one is a 3-pin. Obviously you can't mix this up, so you'll have the same thing again here. These are keyed, so you want to get them in there the right direction. And as you put the one onto the laser, it is also keyed. It just plugs in there. Of course, we'll want to tie these wires here. They give you a package of wire ties that I call tie wraps. Some people call them zip ties. And there's a few locations you'll need to do this on. Okay, for the first one, by the stepper motor here, you'll notice there's a hole. There's holes on each side. You're going to want to fasten this through these holes. Which would prevent the motor from coming unplugged if this would get hung up on something. And you notice there's also one on the other side. I'm going to try to get this fashioned up here a little bit so that it's not hanging down. Like I say, I am going to put a drag chain on this eventually. And up here at the top you'll have a hole you can mount a tie through. I'm going to do one for the laser itself. It's this one over here. Leave yourself enough play in there so that you can move your head up and down. Don't get this so tight that you can't lower your head. And then on this side, I'm actually going to tie this back above the stepper motor to keep the cable straight up and down as I can get it. These will be coming off because I'll be putting drag chains on here. And once you get the cable ties in, just cut them off. You probably won't have this tool, but I'm an electrician. I've had this for years, and this is what we use for this operation because it leaves no sharp edge. If you've ever cut any of these off, you'll notice that always leaves a sharp edge on it. This doesn't do that, but these aren't cheap either. So, got everything assembled here. Ready to do some testing, which will obviously be the subject of another video with some of the modifications I'm making. So there we have it. That's how to put together the Atomstack A5 Pro. Very simple. I think if I hadn't been doing the video, I could have done this in probably 20 minutes or so. But I have had experience putting other lasers and CNCs and 3D printers together, so I'm familiar with how all of these things go together. That said, if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up. Always helps the channel. And we'll be doing some more follow-up videos on, for example, how I mount this to this board, how I do the spoil board underneath, how I engrave the grid, and when I put the drag chain on, and a few other modifications. But there again, it's a subject of a whole other video. Otherwise, I'm Roger in the shop, Atomstack A5 Pro. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.